Good evening and welcome to a Meldon Law Monday. What an incredible past 9 or 10 days. Wow. Just got through writing my column about it. I don't know. I remember many like this for the Florida Gators, and it was incredible. What a roller coaster ride. Shane Matthews will tell you all about it, how he had the wisdom to know how good the baseball and softball team were, and I didn't. We'll talk to Scott Carter during that time and get his take. He was there. And some of the great plays you've seen in a baseball game. Shay and I were just discussing it. We'll talk about that. Plus, who knows what else? Some news here and there. A couple of All American preseason. Uh, some good stuff from Sully on Pat Dilley's interview. Lots happening tonight, folks. Come and join us and tell your friends and neighbors. The Buddy Martin Show is on the air with Shane Matthews right now.
It's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. Boy, you folks are jumping on here tonight. Just can't wait to hear what Shane's got to say. And you want to hear me eat some crow probably too, don't you? Well, it was a magnificent week, 10 days, I guess 9 or 10 days for the Gator Nation Kingdom for sure. Talking with a lot of Gators who just, I used the phrase, and you can look it up, it warmed the cockles of Gator Nation. It was something that people really, really needed right now. And we talked earlier with Scott Carter about this, and we'll talk with him later on. But I know Shane Matthews, as hard and cold as he is, even he probably enjoyed this. And I was just kidding. I'm Shane. I'm glad. I know you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yeah, it was maybe the best baseball game I've ever witnessed. The center fielder for Clemson, I told you, buddy, before the show started, it's the greatest catch or it might be the greatest athletic play I've ever seen.
Really?
Uh, yeah, I mean, well, I really don't know anything that compares to it. If he doesn't catch that ball, game's over.
Yeah.
Not only did he turned the wrong way and then adjusted as he was running up an incline.
He did.
And to a fence. I mean,
yeah.
There's a lot to it was phenomenal. But you got to tip your hat to Sully, the players, just a gritty team. And, it just goes to show that the Southeastern Conference week in and week out is so hard. And it was great that we got sent to teams that we don't see a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
And we took advantage of their pitching. Our guys pitched well at times, not so great at times, but it was just man, what a year! It's Sully's worst record he's ever taken in Omaha.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I said on my show today, buddy, I don't want one damn person to text and question Sully if we're two in a barbecue out there. I'm not hoping. I hope that doesn't happen, but we're going to face A&M, who I think probably is the best team in America in game one. But just for them getting out there, it's been a phenomenal year.
It has been phenomenal. This past week was really phenomenal when you think about all those at stake. And I mean, well, here's what I want to say about this. I probably can't express myself very well, but everything from the softball to the baseball to the track, I watched it all. And if you were a Gator fan, you had to be so proud of the performances and the athletes and people you saw. I mean, Parker Mulvey was fabulous in track, watching her run. She had that distance double. She won them both. The track team winning by 1 point. Women losing on the last, with Arkansas finished 1, 2, 3, and 4. And all that. And then the top of the softball team, I mean, going into there and with no chance to beat Oklahoma State in their own ball yard, right? 20 consecutive. Excuse me, I'll get it right in a minute. I got so many things mixed up here. 20 consecutive wins by Oklahoma, and they had to break the streak of 20 consecutive wins to stay alive, and they did it. And then they turned around and took them to the max before they finally lost, was the walk-off, wasn't it? I get them mixed up. I think it's a home run in the eighth inning. So, I mean, what an incredible performance by the softball team. That alone would get you all jacked up. And then you see what the baseball team does. They got no shot. They're in the losers bracket, right? They got, they're getting their brains beat out. Well, that'll never happen. They'll be gone home. They began to play great baseball. At Caglione, beyond his home runs, and I know you can't say beyond him. If you saw him at the end of the game, you know how much that game meant to him to win with that team, and to Mike Robertson to have the walk-off, like the number 9 hitter, and then you see that, and you see the track team and the athletes represented themselves. I mean, Skylar Wallace. What the speech she gave afterwards, talking about the greatest thing she ever did in her life was to become a Florida Gator. I mean, this is poster boy stuff. You know what I mean, Shane? It had to get you a little fired up.
Well, it's been a tremendous spring sports season.
Yeah.
Florida's always had a lot of success in spring sports. I would say this: softball had a tremendous year from the beginning. I mean, they only lost 13 times all year. Lacrosse plays in the Final Four. They had a tremendous year. Mm-hmm. Track is what it is. Mouse is unbelievable because he does not give two craps about the SEC track meet. He doesn't care about any of that. He gets his kids ready for the national title. And as you mentioned, they would have won the women's, but we didn't even have a girl in the
4x100.
In a 400 meter deal. Yeah. And Arkansas had 4 girls, and they go 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. And they got like 26 points in that. So baseball is a surprise because of how the year went. All the other sports I mentioned had tremendous years and tremendous postseasons, and now baseball just found a way to get into the tournament. And I was joking on my show today. Midweek games do not matter. Nobody will ever convince me that they matter. Mm-hmm. The only thing that they're doing is they're trying to figure out how deep their pitching staff can be, who can possibly help them later in the year. And I think some of those young guys, as you saw yesterday, and freshmen, did pretty well when they had an opportunity.
It was
but let me touch on this too. The Gator Nation this year, and you won't see them after this year, maybe 3 of the greatest to ever come to this school in their sport: Jack Caglione, Skylar Wallace, and Parker Valby.
Wow, yeah.
They're all leaving, but they might, in my opinion. Now I know Parker because my son and her are good friends. They're like a year apart. I know nothing about long distance running, but she's as good as there is in the world. But in my opinion, because I've watched softball a long time, I believe Skylar Wallace is the greatest player we've ever had. Some people have other Lauren Hager and Amanda Lorenz, and I agree with those too. But I just think Skylar Wallace is the best I've seen. And we've had a lot of good baseball players, but Jack Caglione's the best I've ever seen here. So kind of crazy that they're all here this year and they won't be here next year.
Really is. And Parker Valby's going to get whatever she wants on an NIL deal or whatever. She's
great. She's leaving, buddy. She's going pro.
Yeah.
I know nothing about the Olympics. They said that she doesn't have the Olympic times, or I don't know how it works. I don't know if she has to
No,
go
they didn't hit.
run.
She didn't make the Olympic standard. That's what they called it.
That's what it's called.
She's
But
2/10 out, 2/100ths
let me
off
tell you
of it.
something. She laps all those chicks in every one of them damn races. So I got to see somebody to run faster than her for the Americans if she's not the best.
You think so? Yeah, you think so? Um, yeah, there were so many points there to be made. Getting back to that incredible catch, um, that kid, it's Cam Camarella, right? Uh,
After he hit the 3-run homer.
yeah, I was going to say he just hit the 3-run homer. It comes back and then makes that catch. Well, talk about a double. Oh my gosh, tremendous! And I tell you, I don't think the Clemson fans knew what hit them. They were in shock. They got swept by the Gators, weren't they?
Well, they were the 6th seed. I mean,
I know. I know.
look, I had Cardozo on Friday, I guess, on my show.
What do you say?
Well, and I agree 100% with it. The Oklahoma State Cowboys, they were not happy when Florida was sent out there. I mean, when you have a SEC team with the program that Sully has, and I'm going to go back on and say it is an elite program, even though it's been a down year. I forgot. This is our 9th trip in the last 14
nice
years.
straight. Yeah. See,
That is freaking.
That's what you
That is
should come
elite.
at. Why didn't you come at me with that fact?
Well, I couldn't remember it, and it's no different than 12 in Tim's 20 years. That is elite.
The only
But
difference and I'm not going to defend this anymore. I'm just going to accept the fate and say they played like an elite team. Is that during that slump, I looked it up. They lost 7 games that month. Yeah, and Gator baseball team.
well, the Gator baseball team has not played elite, but it's an elite program,
Yeah,
buddy. When you're 2 games over 500, you're not having an elite year.
right.
You're still
I
an
think
elite
that's the
program.
semantics of the thing we're talking about. But gosh, props to them. I give them all the credit in the world. I'm going to read this to you. So I want you to hear it. Make sure you know that I want to own up to whatever I may have said. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but we'll see. While I give you this, I want to give you this little graphic I made up here. Guess what this is?
It is looks like a roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster ride. It's a roller coaster ride of the year. It's my graphic on my column tonight. Talking about the roller coaster ride of the year. And I wrote in this last, I often read my own stuff. I wrote about how tremendous these athletes like Caglione and different. Brandon Aley was fabulous, by the way. He was fabulous. He did get hit for that home run. Boy, he played great. I wrote, once again, I doubted how Florida could keep coming back after so many twists and turns, especially this one. Given what was at stake with Florida about to walk it off to Omaha, I witnessed the greatest catch I've ever seen in college. Willie Mays-esque play made by Clemson's Cam Camarella, preventing a walk-off run by Florida. I wrote, once again, they made me eat crow. They performed like elites, if that's a word. I said, there I've said it, if that's really a word, but crow never tasted so good. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tremendous sports year when you think about it, other than football.
It has, yes, it certainly has. Yeah. A couple of quick notes here, other than football. I had someone tell me today that Billy Napier has told him that it's one of the best teams he's ever been around. So that's third hand now. A couple of notes, and Scott Carter's going to come on here as we give you the update. And thanks to Meldon Law for sponsoring the program tonight. And they remind me to tell you what Sully said about a call from Spurrier. He still got it. He told Pat Dooley this. All right, so right now, let's do this. I want to tell folks about Meldon Law. Meldon Law, you know about them. They sponsor many, many things, including this program. And they are Florida's official injury law firm. They are so involved. Jeffrey's so involved in the Gator program with sponsorships and stuff. He wants you to know also they do law. Have a new office open in Williston. Now they got Williston, Gainesville, Lake City, and Ocala. and you can check them out. If you have any pending problems with lawsuits, or maybe you got a case that you're not happy with, it's not moving along, or you don't like your attorney's position on it, they'll give you for no cost, give you an update, give you an assessment, give them a call at Meldon Law, and they will to give you their best advice they can. Always. Meldon Law, they won't back down. Let's go get Scott Carter, who's just home, got his nap, and he's all buzzed and happy. Say good evening to Scott Carter.
So, guys, yes, afternoon nap. That's where I'm at in life.
The best, huh? The
Scott,
best.
Scott loves napping.
that was a long day at the ballpark yesterday, guys,
Oh
and
my
then
gosh.
worked late and then got home, so I was like ready to take a little nap. But I'm now we're going to Omaha on Wednesday, so there's not much turnaround. I have to admit, I did not expect to spend any time in Omaha this June, so it's a pleasant surprise.
Yes. Well, you saw it. What's that game? 4.5 hours? How long it was? I don't even know how long it was.
I'll remember it, 5 hours, 4 minutes, buddy.
Wow,
It was
5 hours and
yeah,
4 minutes.
that was with a couple
Mackerel.
of delays. They
Yeah.
had the umpires take over a couple of different
Oh,
times, but
well,
it was one of those just one of those memorable days that you once in a while you bump into in this
yeah.
field, and luckily the Gators won, and it was a game I won't forget anytime soon.
None of us will. And I think Shane's throwing around some part of this over here about how great the game was, the play was.
Mhm.
We just were saying that play Camarella made. I mean, are you kidding me? Given what was at stake,
Yeah.
the game is over if he didn't make that catch. I mean, talk about some of the plays you saw and things that impressed you. The moon shots by obviously by Caglione. What were some of the things that you will always remember besides the length of the game?
Well, I mean, I think certainly the catch. I mean, Sully afterward, he said he was floored by that catch because considering the circumstances, if he doesn't catch that ball, the Gators win. Their season's over.
Yeah,
And when it went off the bat of Ashton Wilson, I really didn't think he had a chance. And he runs under it, makes the Willie Mays style catch. I mean, again, it was. I think it's one of the best individual catches I've ever seen at any level of
yeah,
baseball. And then, of course, he's the same guy in the bottom of the ninth who tied it up 9-9 that sent it to extra innings. Um, and of course, you had the little. It's hard to even call it a tussle. It was the little exchange early in the game between Caglione and the Clemson player who didn't appreciate the tag. I think that charged the whole atmosphere and kind of set the tone for the day. And unfortunately, the umps got a little too involved for my taste. But it was just one of those environments. And the Clemson coach, he also, he was doing his part to get the crowd fired up after he
did
got
he
ejected.
ever?
Yeah, so it was just a lot of drama, a lot of theatrics. But I think for Florida, what really will stick out to me is what the reason they're here in this place in the first place. This is a team that just doesn't really seem phased by whatever comes its way, and they've got this bond going right now. This, I don't know, you can call it whatever you want to, postseason magic, the old mojo working, whatever it is. They've won 5 in a row. They seem to be able to handle whatever adversity comes their way. And you guys know baseball is different than the other team sports. The game will give you back stuff maybe that the talent can't just take in other sports. And that's where the Gators are right now. I mean, you had a number 9 hole hitter, the guy Michael Robertson. He steps up to the plate in the bottom of the 13th inning. He's 0 for 7 on the season with bases loaded. Bases are loaded. What does he do? He slaps a double, walk off. Gators are going to the College World
Yeah,
Series.
yeah,
That's why I love football, guys.
yeah. Back to Shane. Your thoughts. Getting back to that the point about the umpires. For those who don't remember, it's Caglione tag. I don't know. The guy got kicked out. Whatever his name was at first base. There was a No, he didn't tag him. He tagged somebody else, and the guy was grounding third base. Instead of going to the bench, he went over to where the argument's going. I guess he touched the umpire. I don't know. It seemed to me like there was just a little bit too much involvement by the umpires there, Shane, or were they worried about maybe it escalating?
I mean, it was. I thought it was ridiculous, quite honestly. I know they made an emphasis this year on a lot of the taunting after home runs, bat flips, slamming the bat down. But if you can, Scott, you may know this, but I haven't studied it, but I've heard you can bat flip and slam the bat down kind of at your dugout, but not the opposing team's dugout. And the kid that can't remember what the score was at the time when he slammed his bat down. It was at the Clemson dugout. They just give him a warning, but then they throw the head coach and Leggett, which that is the bizarrest. I didn't even realize he was on their staff, suited up. A guy who was fired a few years ago. I just don't know how the coaches got thrown out and the player didn't get thrown out.
Well, was he on? He wasn't supposed to be on the field, Leggett, right?
Well, that and the umpire, Billy Van Rasport, he finally issued a statement today on the whole thing
What did he
because
say?
it was chaos. Basically, I don't know if you guys were watching the telecast.
Yeah.
I watched the replay last night. You could tell Dave Neal from the SEC Network, he was pretty upset that they weren't getting information. So it just didn't look good. But the umpires it all went back to that second inning when both teams got warnings. So at that point, both teams were supposed to be on their best behavior. He slams the bat. The umpires meet to discuss whether that warranted further action. Well, while they were discussing that, Leggett and Bakich knew what they were talking about. They started barking at the umps. So that's when they threw Leggett out because he actually came out on the field. He's not even supposed to be out of the dugout. The program. It says, and then Bakich kind of went off, and they threw him out. After he came out and was kind of walking around trying to get that umpire to explain it to him more. So, it could have been handled better. At the same time, I think there's probably some intentional actions on Bakich's part. I think he didn't talk after the game. He was unavailable supposedly due to NCAA rules. If you get ejected, you can't talk. I don't quite get that rule. So I'll be curious to see what he says this week when he does finally meet with the Clemson media to kind of wrap the season.
Yeah, he was suspended
for the first 2 games next year.
Yes,
yeah,
point.
Both.
It would have been Omaha if he didn't won.
Yes, they would have served a suspension their next 2 games, whenever it is. So they're out for the next 2 next year. And then again, like you guys said, the player didn't get ejected. Ethan Mathis. I think they were so mad thinking that he was going to get ejected, they ended up getting ejected themselves. So, again, the whole thing to me, like I remember the second inning dust up with Caglione and the player. I was like, man, if this was Major League Baseball, that would have been over in like 90 seconds. They would have continued.
Yeah,
it took 15 minutes to meet and delay the game. I mean, just unless there's guys out there throwing punches or, somebody brings a bat out from the dugout. I mean, emotion's part of the sport.
Yeah. Let me get to a couple of things on Sully, who has been to a rough year. Shane's talked about it, defended him a lot. Shane made a comment a while ago. He's right. A lot of us didn't even realize this is his 9th super regional. 9th.
In 14 years.
In 14 years. And so Sully, you can tell the stress has been taking its toll on him. Talk about Sully, and then I want to tell you what he said in an interview about Spurrier. Tell me how you think Sully's been handling everything, Scott.
Well, obviously it's been a tougher season on him than most have because, this is a team that he had high expectations for, but yet they had to grow up. And I don't think he expected some of the pitching to be as far behind where he wanted it early in the season. And now they're getting there. So you're seeing the results. But, I get hit up on Twitter, social media all the time about Sully. Look, Sully is an unbelievable game manager. He's an unbelievable recruiter. The guy could manage in the major leagues and be very successful, in my opinion, if that's what he wanted to do. He knows the game inside out. Once in a while, you're going to have a team like this, that needs some more time. And here we are after I can't tell you how many tweets I've received. Gators should fire Sully. Sully sucks. And guess what? They're going to the College World Series. So those people need to just get away from the computer for a little while. You guys mentioned it. He's won 9 straight super regionals. He's actually been to 10. In 2009, they lost to Southern Miss. Since then, he's won 9 in a row. Every time he's gotten there, he's won it. He's 18-6 all time at Florida in super regional games. I mean, guys, that's what you call getting it done. And to take this team to Omaha, it is an improbable team. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I went back and looked up all the Gators.
I saw your whole list.
Yeah, so they've got 34 wins this year. That's 16 less than last year's team when it got to Omaha. And of the 14 Florida teams that have made Omaha, the fewest wins they ever had when they got there was 45. So that just shows you the guy stuck with this team. He believed in it, and now he's kind of maximizing some of their production. Also, you got to give credit to players. I mean, Ashton Wilson, come on, man. Did you guys know who Ashton Wilson was a month ago?
I never heard of him. He was 0 for 6, right?
Yeah, so I mean,
he never played.
Again, again, you have to have those stories this time of year to do special things.
Well, somebody said it earlier in the year, Shane. He said to have any chance to advance in postseason, you have to have some of these people come through that you weren't expecting, and he had that. The woods were full of those.
He's only playing because of an injury.
Yeah. When they lost Ty Evans and then Hayden Yost, that opened the door. But again, they had to recognize that talent. He was a guy at Charleston Southern last year. Didn't really have he played up there, but to do what he's been doing is pretty remarkable.
Speaking of which, Florida got a Miami player today transfer. Blake Sear from Miami, former infielder, outfielder, was a 2023 freshman All-American. So pretty good, getting a good bat too, apparently. So
here's what I mean. It's funny because I think Scott, correct me wrong. We got a kid from Texas Tech the other day, kid from JU, and now a guy from Miami. Everybody's excited, but they raise hell at the coaches when they leave to go somewhere else.
Yeah, we're in a funny time right now. I think we're just going to see this constantly now, guys. It really is like a free agency.
Really.
Good thing. There's good and bad that comes with that. I still hope that over time that it stabilizes some. But yeah, I like the kid from Jacksonville. I think he's a really nice addition for him.
Yeah. Quick comments. I want to give credit where it's due because this came from Pat Dooley. But there's some comments on here that were very good. Sully talking about his interview said about from Spurrier. He got a phone call from Spurrier. He says, I still have the message he sent me in 2017. He is so bright, best coach ever at Florida. He loves baseball. One of his proudest moments is winning 2 state baseball championships in high school baseball. He's such a resource to have. I love him. I'll tell you a little anecdote about Steve. He told me this during the book writing, and we never used it. Steve was already in coaching at Florida and won a couple of SECs. His dad came over to his house and said, you think maybe you should have stuck with baseball? He was serious. Yeah.
It worked out for him, guys.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. I've had conversations with him as probably you guys have about those baseball days.
Oh, yeah.
He can still tell you his best games.
Oh, yeah. I know Shane has heard them all. I'll tell you all about it. One more thing on this. I'll let you go, Scott, and Shane, you stand by for 1 second. He said on Mikey Robertson, he's had a great career at Florida. This is Sully. We kept him in the 9-hole because he can flip the lineup over. I can't be more happy for him to have that moment, left on left and go the other way. Such a great moment for him. One of the greatest moments is me as a coach. That's saying a lot, And if you saw, I saw somebody had a clip of this, had Caglione at the end of the game right after it happened. And, he didn't express too much usually. And he was smiling ear to ear. He said, how about Mikey? Mikey. He was so happy that Mike Robertson. That's the kind of thing you'd love to see, Shane, on a team when guys are rooting for other guys.
Yeah, I know they've had some teams where the guys didn't get along very well, from my inside sources that tell me that. But it seems like this team gets along pretty well. And, winning makes everybody like each other too now.
Yeah, it does. It's a great elixir. All right. Well, thank you, Scott. Great stuff. Appreciate it. Have a good trip out there and stay in touch with us. We might want to chat it up with you one time. All right.
All right, guys.
Scott,
Have a good
Scott,
day.
real
Yep,
quick, Scott, did you get to see the football facility?
I did. I walked over there, and man, that Clemson has some great facilities. Their football facility was unbelievable. And they've done a lot up there since I was there, guys. They built a lot of new buildings, and I mean, you could tell they're using that money from those national championships. They're using it right now. They're building a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thanks, Scott.
Right.
Appreciate
Have
it,
a good
buddy.
Bye.
I want to tell you folks about our fine sponsors that we've got at Titan MRI. They're open for business now in North Central Florida. Got some great things going for you. If you need the MRI, number one, if you don't have insurance, they'll take cash or card. Secondly, if you need an appointment but you can't go during working hours or your job, call them up. They'll make a special reservation for you to have your appointment at night or the weekend, whatever works for you. So if you're not familiar with them, check them out. TitanMRI.com. To the lines real quick, and we'll say hello and goodbye to Shane. Shane, before you go, let's say good evening to Franz Beard, who wrote a nice piece today about Gator baseball. And hey, guys, Florida and Florida State are opposite brackets. But man, don't you hope they get a chance to meet? Wouldn't that be great? Huh?
I just want Florida to get there. I don't care who's. It doesn't matter if it's Western Walla Walla Trade School, as long as the Gators are there.
Yeah. Let's talk about Cags real quick. I'll let you go, Shane. Sully had a comment. He said, I love Cags. He's come such a long way. He'll go down as one of the greatest players here. He says a story about his freshman year, why he said he planned to redshirt him. His ability in batting practice was just different. He sat him down and told him he wasn't going to be here 4 years. He wanted his presence in the lineup, and we had to sit out with your parents to figure this out. Well, it worked out pretty well. Cags came back, and man, what a good finish. What a great way to go out, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in my opinion, he's the best I've ever seen here in all my days. I'd put Brad Wilkerson right up there, but I think Cags, and the game's changed a lot too. Cags is just a very powerful young man, just hits the ball hard. So, been a bit, like I said, it's been a good spring sports season for all of Gator athletics. Not so great for baseball, but once postseason came around, they've turned it on a little bit.
Shane, tell fans what you said about the three greatest athletes leaving the programs.
Well, they're leaving. I think, in my opinion, Skylar Wallace is the best softball player we've ever had here. There's Amanda Lorenz and Lauren Hager. They're pretty damn good too. But I say Skylar Wallace. I think Jack's the best baseball player. And I know nothing about long distance running, but there ain't nobody in our lifetime going to do what Parker Valby's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, Franz and I had a conversation earlier today about her, what a great future she's got. And I don't quite get didn't make the Olympic standard that by 200ths of a second. I don't understand all that. But anyway, all right.
But she has a chance to get it at the Olympic trials. Yeah.
Okay.
She'll have a chance to get it at the Olympic trials.
Okay.
She could, there's a way that you could put her on the team. For example, she comes up lame, injured, whatever like that, if she'd already met the Olympic standard, but she has not. So she's going to have to go through the trials and try to get there. But she's already met the Olympic standard on the 10,000 though. And I mean, goodness, she makes all A's. She's drop dead gorgeous. She's got personality. And by the way, she runs pretty well too. A little bit slower than Shane Matthews over 10,000 meters, but not bad.
I've never run 10,000 in my lifetime.
And yeah, all together. Shane, did you watch the track?
I watched a little bit of it. Yeah, I was flipping back and forth. I was hoping, once I saw that from the girls' standpoint, when Arkansas had four competitors in the 400 meter, I was like, we have no chance of winning this because it tells you how many points
Yeah.
Arkansas had left to it that they could obtain compared to the Gators. It was like 49 points to like
Yeah.
32. And I'm
Yeah.
like, we're not gonna win this
They
thing.
got 29 in that event, and then
Yeah.
they got another 10 in the in the 4x400. So they only got 24 points. Other than that, that was all they
Yeah.
had. So you know, they were. That's an exceptional group. I mean, we may never see a team with 4 runners of that caliber at that distance ever again on the same team at the same time. And all you had to do was watch in the 4x400 relay. They came within about a second of breaking the world record. I mean, they just blew by everybody. I mean, this was unbelievable. You know, this is a rebuilding year for Florida in both the men and the women. So to win it in a rebuilding year in the men's side and to finish second in a rebuilding year in the women's side, and then you add in a second place women in the indoors and a third place men in the indoors. What a program. And cross country finished 5th in the country. I mean,
France, you're running down the list today earlier, and Shane, you were doing something too, of everything that's happened this year, of all for Shane, you said, what a year in sports. And France, you were helping get that list together of all the things that have happened, unbelievable, including the minor sports. Let's see if we can piece that together. All right, with the football, we know what basketball did. Now, what were all the things that went on, Shane?
Well, basketball had a great year. Softball had a tremendous year. Lacrosse had a tremendous year. I would say men's golf had a great year going back. They were in the top 8 after losing 3 or 4 of their top players. Lacrosse was phenomenal going to the Final Four. And now baseball didn't have a great year, but it's going to be a great year because
That wound
they're
up being great, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure what men's and women's tennis did, but other than that, about every damn sport was pretty good except football.
France?
Think of it like this. Men's and women's swimming finished 3rd. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gymnastics finishes 4th. Okay.
I forgot about gymnastics. Yep.
Softball and lacrosse finished 3rd. Then you go into golf. Will have I think they finished 10th, but from the Learfield Cup Directors Cup standings, they'll get the same amount of points as the 9th place finisher, whatever like that. It's the top 8 gets a certain amount, and then they break it down. So they're getting points there. Women's golf was a disappointment. I gotta admit. Baseball, because they finish in the top 8, is going to score a bunch of points in the Learfield Cup, and right now it's going to be nip and tuck between Florida and Tennessee for 4th place in the Learfield Cup. Texas has already won it. They don't. Nothing has to happen the rest of the time for them to win it. Stanford and North Carolina. North Carolina can pass them with baseball. So those 2 will be 2nd and 3rd. Then it's going to be either Florida or Tennessee, 4th and 5th. And I think the Gators have got it because I think that I got a lot of balance. But Tennessee picked up. They had a semifinalist in women's tennis. They had a quarterfinalist in men's tennis, and their golf team did well. So kind of offset some things there. So it's going to be nip and tuck. But I think, based on my math, I think the Gators will finish 4th.
Hey, Shane, did you hear that Graham Mertz got a little car deal?
Oh, what kind?
He just announced today he had now a partnership with the Mercedes-Benz of Gainesville. He rep by
Good for him.
Equity Sports, yeah. Graham
I'm not a
Mertz.
Mercedes guy, but good for him.
I'll take it if you don't like it. Yeah. So,
yeah. He's got an electric Mercedes now. So.
Yeah. Well.
Oh.
Well, I drove around. I was in college. I had an old Plymouth rusted out. Hey, here's the other one too. Is I just thought this was quite interesting. See what you guys weigh in on this. I'll let you go, Shane. There's talk now about what happens if the ACC implodes. which could very well happen. Florida State winds up going to the Big Ten or wherever. There's talk that they should go after USF and to be a replacement in the ACC. So, how would that fit, friends?
Terribly. You've got you got an athletic program that's got a budget of barely $35 million. Okay, even even the bottom tier programs in the ACC have athletic budgets of 70 million and above. So their facilities are terrible. They are building an on-campus football stadium, but their facilities are terrible. That'd be a terrible fit. Personally, here's the thing that I believe is going to happen. I think the ACC is going to tie them up in litigation, so that nobody will take Florida State or Clemson for years to come based on the litigation, and nobody will take them till it all ends. So FSU and Clemson and anybody else who wants to leave are pretty much stuck for a while. This lawsuit's going to have to play its way through the courts, and maybe at the end of it all, FSU and Clemson will be singing free at last, great God Almighty, we is free at last. But it's going to take a while before that happens.
Well, things can happen if they decide to. Shane, would you agree with that?
I mean, something's going to happen. I don't think either one of them will be SEC, though. I think, I was in a meeting with Greg Sankey up at the SEC championship game, and he said the only two teams that they are even interested in that could bring value to the SEC were Virginia and North Carolina.
Yep.
Those are two good.
Here's why Clemson and FSU have, if they're going to get in a conference, it would have to be in the SEC. They are not in the Big Ten. Call them academic snobs, if you will. They're not going to take schools that are not members of the American Association of Universities. FSU isn't. Clemson isn't. That's why Washington State and Oregon State begged to go along. Even Washington and Oregon begged to have them come along. But they're not members of the AAU. Therefore, they don't go. I will tell you this, though. USF is. Believe it or not, FSU is not. USF is.
And all right, good stuff.
As I understand, UCF is closer to getting in membership of the AAU before FSU.
All right, hang on, friends. Good stuff, Shane. Who's on the program tomorrow besides this old sports writer you keep getting on?
We're going to have Graham Hall talking about all these visits that the Mighty Gators have had. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know it was recruiting season, but we have people here on visits.
It's always recruiting season. Always,
right.
Seems like. He had a good tweet tonight, Graham. I had it down there earlier. All right, Shane, talk to you in the morning, buddy. Thank you.
All right, guys. Take care.
Appreciate it. All right, thank you. All right, so friends, as we get down to the nitty-gritty here, I want to talk a little bit more about what it's like to see. By the way, Jeremy Crawshaw and Rocco Underwood have been named preseason All-American by Phil Steele. So we got the specialists, their punting team going, right?
Lindy's Athlon is out now.
Yeah.
Athlon has Florida's quarterbacks number 9. Every other unit is 10, 11, or 12. Athlon talk about no respect whatsoever for the Gators. They have none. Phil Steele, as I understand it, is going to put Florida down as one of his breakout teams for this year. Yeah. That's what I'm told.
Yeah, well, it seems like a lot of that's going around. It seems like I think Florida's going to become a trendy long shot. We had a really good piece on our site. You didn't write it, and I didn't write it, but our friend Carlton Reese wrote it. It was a very good, different look at the schedule, which we're all talking about, which is the Bataan Death March, And he took the other position, says some of these times these so-called death sentences schedules don't turn out that way. And he talked about how it's like the Apache drums, or drum beats, and it's really kind of part of that psych you out. They could do that. But if you break it down, there's a very good possibility Florida is a better team than some of these teams. And I heard Cole Kulak last tonight talking about it on Scheinbaum. He talked about how, hey, look, well, FSU lost a bunch. You can't say they're going to be that good. And he went down the list of other teams that aren't exactly a shoe-in. Plus, we know they got 12 games, got 12 teams in the playoff. We had a long season, and players get hurt. So there are things that can happen, as we know, friends, that could change things a lot.
Well, for example, this is a quarterback-driven league, okay? How many programs out there have a legitimate backup that you can count on? And the answer is not too many of them. Everybody out there just about is going to have to rely on a freshman as their backup. And that's because experienced quarterbacks tend to leave. If they aren't playing, they tend to leave and go someplace where they can play. And who does that leave as a replacement, Killers? But the freshmen. And I don't think it's such a cut and dried thing that the Gators are going to finish poorly. And again, it comes back to this. We saw what happened to Florida, for example, when Graham Mertz, just trying to get 2 extra yards, breaks his collarbone. And the next week, a winnable game against FSU. I don't care what anybody says. For Florida to almost win that game with Max Brown tells me that FSU, despite their unbeaten record, wasn't good enough to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, good point.
And this is the thing. It only takes a key injury at a certain position. For example, you got a stud left tackle and you got him backed up with a freshman, and all of a sudden you're going to play a couple teams with a real guy coming off the edge, and now all of a sudden you got a left tackle that's a freshman going in there. How are you going to help him? Okay, people say, well, yeah, you hold the back end, you chip him and everything. You end up like Ohio State in 2006, if you remember. After the first quarter, Ohio State never ran anything more than a 2-man route because they had to hold the running back end, the full back end, and the tight end to keep Mr. Moss and and the other defensive end from getting to him. So a lot of
I'm
stuff.
anxious to see what Graham Mercer is going to do that when you get more receivers in the zones, flooded zones, because they got some players that can move now. I think. By the way, this is if you haven't heard it, the preseason all SEC team. I think it's the Outline, I believe. Nobody from Florida on there, as you might expect. You know who the quarterback's going to be. Carson Beck, can't argue that. Trevor Etienne is all conference listing preseason. Jarquez Hunter of Auburn, Luther Burden, wide receiver.
He's legit.
Yeah. And then Trey Harris, Juice Wells, and Isaiah Bond from are your wide receivers. Caden Prescorn of Ole Miss is your tight end, and the offensive lineman, 2 of them are LSU guys. Might be a little bit of trouble, by the way. Emory Jones, not the one we know, is one offensive lineman. Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks from Texas, Tate Ruthers from Georgia, and Tyler Booker from Alabama. So there's only one, no Oklahoma's, only one Texan on there.
Yeah, I was surprised at that. I thought the Athlon, quite frankly, I thought the Athlon preseason All SEC team was terrible, and not just because there weren't any Gators even really given any consideration. They only list a first team; they don't list a second team. But I just looked at it and I thought, shake my head. They've got Nussmeier, Garrett Nussmeier, ranked above as a quarterback, ranked above Graham Mertz. How's that happen? They got Nico Iamaleava, or however you pronounce his name, at
Mhm.
Tennessee, ranked above. How are you going to rank these guys who've hardly taken any snaps at all ahead of the quarterback who completed 70%, 72% of his passes last year, only threw 3 picks, and that was with only one receiver, and the second one was a freshman who was figuring things out, and no protection. And he's coming back this year, and he's got 43 career starts. There's only one other quarterback in the country with more starts in his career than Graham Mertz. It boggles my mind that people don't take these things into consideration. It's kind of like, buddy, everybody's got Billy Napier. What happens when Billy Napier gets fired?
Yeah.
Folks, Billy Napier is safe and sound until after the 2025 season. Or if, say, the Gators are 0-10, which they aren't going to be, in 2025 at some point in the season, yeah, they'd fire him then. But he's safe. They are not going to have a revolving door, and they can't have it. He is the 6th coach since Steve Spurrier retired from Florida in 2001. You just can't keep churning that out. It doesn't work that way, and the only way you stop it is you got to bite the bullet, let the guy coach. And here's one other thing: if they were to fire Billy Napier this year, guess who would transfer out? Future of the program, DJ Lagway. You can count on that. He would be gone that quick.
You're probably right, Franz. Now, I want to change the subject. We don't do this very often and talk about something that we don't normally talk about, but the principle is the same. And that is, I think we all have worried about the fact that we've gotten too materialistic in college football. We've always known money drives the bus, but it seems like money's been everything in this last year. We all get concerned that we've lost our sense of values, we've lost our way, and that the game has changed for the worse. Therefore, you aren't going to get the quality of player, the quality of the team. You will have the bond and what have you, and people are getting turned off. Well, the good news is what we saw during this past week, 10 days, of the Gators is we saw some real good bonding with teams, especially the softball team. Really good stuff. The kind of players, the students, the student athletes, the quality people who are flocking to these programs now. And you see Parker Valby, and you see these people like Skylar Wallace, and you see these outstanding young people who are also athletes. And it warms your heart to know that they still care about team and bonding and winning together as a team. I love that. Now, today, this is not related except in one way. Please don't let us sell out completely, please. Today, something happened was really unusual, and I'm now a fan of this guy. Dan Hurley offered $70 million to go coach the Los Angeles Lakers. Was out in LA. 70 million, friends, and he turned it down.
Yes, he did.
To go back to UConn and coach college basketball. God bless you, Dan Hurley. I'm a fan.
Well, Dan Hurley, kind of like this, buddy. He's making $7 million a year, and you go out to Los Angeles, and all of a sudden you look at the tax bracket he's in. He's already in the 37% tax bracket, and now California has a 14% state income tax. So he's 51% of his income. So $11 million doesn't go as far as it used to in Los Angeles. I mean, all of a sudden you're talking $5.5 million.
Good point.
And you have an LA city tax, and all of a sudden your housing costs are more. All sorts of things like that you look at, and from an economic standpoint, he probably makes out like a bandit to stay right where he is. But here's the other thing. why go out there and take a team that you don't know when you got a team back there at UConn that you do know? I think the one Billy Donovan loves coaching in the NBA, but the one thing I think that people who know Billy well have told me, his one disappointment about the NBA is he's never other than the first year, the people that he had there in he had Kevin Durant, he had Westbrook there at Oklahoma City, and then they let those guys go to free agency. And he never had the kind of team that he wanted before. He's got to get Billy. I think will be happy when he gets with a GM that'll get him the players he needs to win. Everybody admits Billy's one of the 2 or 3 best coaches in the NBA, but he just doesn't have the personnel to compete with it. And I think that Dan Hurley looked at that as well. And he says, recruiting is a pain in the ass. And it really is. But at least the guys he's got are the guys that he wants, that he can handpick. I remember this, buddy. I'm at Oglethorpe University watching an AAU tournament, and I'm standing there with Rick Pitino, and Rick is talking about coaching the Boston Celtics, and he tells me, he says, I got to make a substitution, and I'm not going to say the names and everything. He says, and I look down there, and the guy I want to put in, I say, no, if I put him in, it's going to hurt my guy's feelings, who's the starter, who's already feels pressured by this guy. And I look down here, and I got to make another sub, and this guy is in a contract year, and if he comes away and he goes out there and really busts it and everything like that, he's going to make so much money in free agency that I'm going to lose him. And then I look down here at this guy, and if I don't put him in the game, his feelings are going to get hurt. And the next 3 games after this, when I need him, he's going to pout and he won't play. And he went down. He spent 5 minutes telling me this whole thing. He says, this is why I'm back in college basketball.
Yeah. Well, I'm good for Dan Hurley. That's great. And I'm glad he's there. Plus, he'll live just fine on $7 million in Hartford. So it should
Yeah,
be.
well, it doesn't go as far as it used to, buddy. But you know what? I'm sure he'll squeeze by somehow.
Yeah. Francis, good stuff as usual. Read him on Gator Bait. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button here while you're here tonight. All of you, big crowd tonight. And please, this helps us a lot when you do hit subscribe. It's free. And then join Gator Bait. This is where we all get it done. Some really good pieces written there you won't read anyplace else. Inside stuff you like, you will never get again. And you get the very best writers and the guy who knows more basketball than all of us will ever know in our lifetime on his little finger, Franz Beard. So, Francis, great job, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow. We're reading you tomorrow, and let's ride out this baseball team. Have some fun.
Hey, isn't it fun? And by the way, the Poodles are down 4 in the bottom of the 8th to North Carolina State. So
Wow.
it looks like we're going to have a 4-on-4 ACC versus SEC at the College World Series.
Oh, well, that'd be something. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Florida will open up with Texas A&M
Yeah.
Saturday night, 7 o'clock.
Yeah. All right,
And we beat
Francis.
them 2 out of 3. I like that.
Yeah, it's 2 out of 3. Yeah. All right. Good job. Thank you, Franz. Have a good night. All right, folks. Thanks to Franz Beard. Also, thanks to Scott Carter and to Shane Matthews. Will be on the show tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern with Shane. Pot up with Matthews. All right, folks. Let me just close this out by telling you about the importance of my friends at a place that makes a big difference in our town. And you should know what RenStar is about because they impact you too. RenStar Medical Research wants you to know the importance of these clinical trials. They're very important for many reasons, and they invite you to see if you can qualify. If you go to their website, renstar.net, find out whatever trials they're having right now. They've had over 700 of them. If you want to join and you can qualify, you would probably get compensation for time and travel, and you'd be able to give them some investigational medicines that you wouldn't normally get, and maybe some devices, and find out more about your health and about the health of our community. That's why they want to do it. They want to know what our health needs are here in our area. Windstar Medical Research. Check them out online. They're doing great stuff, seeking tomorrow's answers to today's questions in health. Windstar. Have a great night, folks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Back tomorrow night right here on The Buddy Martin Show.